Alright, Rooney. G'day everybody, it's the Doga! It's time for the third and final installment of the collection of music-related items from the Australian legends, the Angels, or Angel City if you're overseas, that is. It's the 7 and 12-inch singles of theirs that I've managed to collect over the last few years. Unfortunately, I've never been able to collect every single one that has been released as far back as 1976. But what I do have is a reasonable collection of them. Right, let's start from the beginning of my collection. Let's start with 1978. This was the third single the band had put out under the Angels name, and is technically the first single off the Face to Face album. Coming Down, aka Looks Like It's Coming Down on Me. And Live It Up. This is actually the studio version of the song that has never been released on CD. As those in Australia should know, a live version was used on the Face to Face album in its place. Which is a shame, though. I believe you can find the studio recording on YouTube somewhere, unless it's been blocked, but I wouldn't have a clue. Okay, up next. This is a rare flexi disc. I have never seen this very often. This came with Ram Magazine issue number 91 in August 1978. Straight Jacket and Be With You from the Face to Face album. This is the only flexi disc I actually own, to be honest. Not come across very many of those over the years. Hang on, I need to put it away now. Also runs at 33 RPM, so it's a lot slower. Still sounds pretty good though. Okay, the next one in my collection. This is the only single I own from the Dark Room album. So it's an identical cover. This is No Secrets and the second half of the Wasted Sleepless Nights Dark Room, which is given the name Staring Voices. I might just pull this out now. Again, these are quite filthy because I've been too lazy to clean them. But anyway, the A-side, of course. Biggest single off the Dark Room album. They put two others out, Face the Day and Poor Baby. But I don't have them, and they didn't exactly sell very well. Okay, I don't have any singles from the Night Attack album. There was at least two of them, I believe. Three maybe, but I'm not so sure. But either way, I've got a few of these singles from the Watch the Red album. From 1982, 1983, this is Stand Up. And the B-side is an instrumental version of the song Easy Prey from the Watch the Red album under the name Chaplin's Drum, and credited solely to Rick Brewster because I think he recorded the majority of it himself. I really should claim these, but either way. Stand Up and credited entirely to Rick Brewster, Chaplin's Drum. As mentioned before, it's an early version of what eventually became Easy Prey off that album. Okay, the next one is the second single of the Watch the Red album from 1983, appropriately titled Eat City. This was a pretty interesting song, bit of a hit for the band at the time. Written mostly by Doc and Rick Brewster at the time. Let Me In was the non-album B-side. This one's perhaps best known for having a saxophone played by bass player Jim Hilburn. And yeah. I think Let Me In should have been the A-side because it's a pretty intense song. Definitely shows some of the classic Angel sound in it, but I guess that's not what the label wanted at the time. Okay, now we jump forward again to the 2 Minute Warning album, and the first single of this one from 1984. This was actually the last single that was issued on the Epic label before the band moved to Mushroom. Between the Eyes. Interesting choice. And this one's also got a non-album B-side, Dead Man's Shoes. Bit of an oddity, that one. I've heard it a couple of times. Oh my goodness, I really should be cleaning these. But as mentioned here, got the A side here, and the B side, the non-album B side that is. Very surprised that this was the last single they put out on the Epic label. Okay, next one is the second single off the album, appropriately titled Underground. This image here is pretty much taken from the very end of the promo clip for that song. As mentioned here, this is the special limited edition 2-single set, which featured a bonus double single with live recordings on it. Unfortunately, when I got this, it only had just the one, which is a shame though, and I've not seen another copy of this anywhere else, so it's unfortunately just the one single. But either way, this was the first one put on the Mushroom Records label for the time. Got the album version on this side, and on the opposite side is a live version of the same song. Apparently it was recorded at the Palace in Hollywood on the 6th of March 1985. And that live recording alongside the two that would have been on the other disc have never made it to CD either, so that's another shame. I've not found another copy, so I'm still missing that other one. Anyway, the third single off the album was titled Look the Other Way. This one's a pretty impressive song too, actually. And of course, Run for the Shelter was the B-side. We've got a picture of the band here. And when I last played this, it must have been a pressing issue or something, because it skipped quite a bit. And again, I don't really play my records all that much anymore. I more or less just collect them. So anyway, Look the Other Way and Run for the Shelter, which was not on the Canadian version of the 2 Minute Warning album that I showed off in my previous video. But, as I mentioned before, it is on the Australian version of the album. Alright, up next, we've got a couple more from the Howling album now. This was the first single issued off the album before the album came out. Nature of the Beast. Not to be confused with the Twisted Sister song with the same name. This is a completely different song altogether. Not to be confused with Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. And the B-side is All Night for You. This particular single I have 2 copies of. Hang on. I've got a non-picture sleeve, just a generic mushroom sleeve. This one, single edit is different intro, different vocal take, and a different ending is also used as well. I think there's also a slightly different mix for All Night for You as well, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% certain though. But anyway, it's 2 copies of the same single. And the second single off the album is Don't Waste My Time. This is a pretty good song. This one should have been a #1 hit. Rare opportunity for bass player Jim Hilbun to take lead vocals during the chorus, but it's pretty much only on the chorus anyway. And Hide Your Face, that was another track from the Howling album as well. So, let's get this one out. And the opposite side as well. Excellent. Third single of the album. The band did a pretty impressive cover of The Animals' We Gotta Get Out of This Place. That was actually a big single over here. I've got 2 copies again. The B-side is the version of Be With You that made it onto the US and Canadian version of 2 Minute Warning, because it was recorded during those sessions. And I also have Another copy of this in a generic Mushroom Records sleeve as well. So we'll show that off. Interesting how they should just retitle it as I Just Want to Be With You. Personally, this version from the US 2-minute warning isn't as good as the original recording from the Face to Face album. It just completely falls flat. Anyway, a couple more of the 7 inches from the Beyond Salvation album, 1990. Dogs Are Talking. This was a big hit, I believe. I'm not so sure if it made it to number 1 because it was still slightly before my time. And the single itself also features some demos from some of the band's support acts at the time, including the Baby Animals, the Hurricanes, and the Desert Cats. I've never really heard of them. Well, the Baby Animals I am sort of familiar with, but not the other two, though. Either way, side 2 is basically is at 33 1/3, and side 1 is the intended 45 RPM. I believe New Zealand has a slightly different B-side with other demos from other support acts, but I've not seen the New Zealand version available anyway. And this is the B-side. Okay. Don't have the second one. I think this is I can't remember which single was next. Either way, next to the 7 inches of my collection, there's another single from Beyond Salvation, Let the Night Roll On. This particular lineup of the group had changed vastly from the classic lineup, but it's still pretty. This has got another Night album B-side, Junk City. Bit of a long song, that one. Into nearly 8 minutes. I think this was the third, if not the. I'm not so sure which particular single this one was, whether it was the second or third. It mentions 1989, but I think that's when it was recorded. But of course, it was released in 1990. Junk City, as I said, non-album B-side. And the last of these 7 inches that I own is another single from the Beyond Salvation album. This is Backstreet Pickup. Bit of a good song, but it's still not as good as the other two. And Take It Easy, not to be confused with the Eagles song of the same name, is another non-album B-side. Sorry if you can't read the text properly. Oops. Either way. Alright, those are the 7-inch singles. Now we move on to the 12-inch ones. I've got a few of them. Some of these may as well be the same as before, but let's see. 2 of them are EPs, and we'll get those two out of the road first. This is from 1979. This was the EP off the No Exit album, Out of the Blue. And this has got some live recordings on the B-side. Performances of Mist of Damage and Save Me from 2SM Elizabethan Theatre. Doesn't say the exact date, but I'd say 1979. And of course, Am I Ever Gonna See Your Face Again was re-recorded during this time, and that version was later added to the Angel's Greatest. Anyway, this is on the classic Owlets Productions Blue label. I think there is a black and yellow reissue out there somewhere as well, but I've not found it. The live performances on the B-side are pretty impressive, and once again, they've never been released on CD. There's so many of these songs that have never been given a CD release. I honestly don't know why though. You think BMG would do something about it, but I guess not. Anyway, on to the next one. This is from 1981. This was issued in between Dark Room and Night Attack. This is the Never So Live EP. This pretty much gathers up some of the recordings that was done around the time of the Night Attack period, just after Brent Eccles had joined on drums, replacing Buzz Bidstrup. Couple of live recordings of 2 songs, Fashion and Fame and Talk About You, which are on the Night Attack album. And side 2, Bad Dream, which is a rare lead vocal from the late Chris Bailey on bass guitar, and Angel, which is another song, both of which never got recorded for the album. These performances are quite impressive, actually. Let's just pull this out here. The tracks themselves were eventually added to the most recent reissue of Night Attack on CD, but some slight edits were made to pretty much clear up the fade-outs and stuff. I believe this was given a CD release in the 1990s, but I've not found a copy, so that's all I've got, apart from the Night Attack reissue. Okay, I think this is the 3rd single of Watch the Red. Live, Lady, Live. And the B-side is Live, Lady, Live Part 2, which is basically an instrumental remix. Completely different. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same song anyway. Another bit of an oddity. I don't know why this was chosen to be a single off the Watch the Red album. One of the weaker songs for me on that album. But it is the opening song off the album anyway. And side 2 as well. Okay. A couple here that let's see. We've got Don't Waste My Time again, this time 12-inch form. This version, the A-side is a completely different mix. Different mix with a slightly different intro. The verses are mixed differently. I think there's a bit of a longer bridge section in the middle that's not present on the album version. And the B-side pretty much contains the album versions of the same track as well as Hide Your Face. Let's pull this out now. I think the A-side was given a CD release on the Left Hand Drive compilation. I think I should show off my Angel CDs at some point. I've got pretty much all their albums only up to Skin and Bone. I prefer not to talk about the other 2 because they don't count without Doc Neeson. I don't care. Okay, either way, that's that one done. On to the next one now. This was another single off the Howling album. Can't Take Any More. I think this was the last of the singles initially. And the 12-inch B-sides were another couple of tracks on the album. Stonewall and All Night For You also included as well, but not on the 7-inch. So I've not found a copy of the 7-inch version, unfortunately, and haven't actually found any Angel singles since probably 3 or 4 years now, maybe 3 at the best. It's been a while. Maybe last year even? I honestly don't know. It's been a while. And the side as well. Okay. Next one. This was released to radio only. When the Time Comes is another single that was issued off the Howling album, but only to radio by the looks of things. I've not seen this anywhere else. This is in a generic white sleeve. I might just show it off anyway. Both labels are pretty much the same, so we'll just show this one label here. This, I think, should have been given a commercial release because it's one of the more heavy rocking songs, you know. And the last one in my collection is from 1988. This was a non-album single. Bit of an odd track, this one. Still classic Angels for its era. Finger on the Trigger. And believe me, I think this particular image here is a bit too... yeah. And the B-sides here. Technically, they are the same song, the B-sides, Straight Aces. The first one is pretty much unedited, and the second version, under the title Living in the Bodyguard of Luxury, I believe is the same song again, but censored, I believe. I only played it once, but it's going off by what I remember seeing from back when I was on Discogs, but it doesn't matter. Either way, rare track written entirely by former Skyhooks and Choir Boys and current Rose Tattoo guitarist Bob Spencer, who, as mentioned before, was briefly in the band from 1986 to 1993, before John Brewster rejoined the band in 1993 or so. Alright, that is it. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like and comment down below. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out the Angels on YouTube. Maybe I should link their channel down below, but I don't know. Unless you wish to look for yourself. Be sure to subscribe here to the Be a Good Doga YouTube channel for more content. There will be another video coming on the 23rd of November for the 40th anniversary of a particular album that was released in 1981. And there might be another one on the 1st of December as well for another album. But they will be AC/DC related, of course. But until next time, this is the Doga saying have a wonderful day, everybody. Be sure to stay safe, and we shall see you again.